There we go. And we'll begin sitting comfortably, whatever that is for you. Good. Letting the spine be long. Forgot to mention, make sure you have your bolsters with you and anything you might need. Of course, you probably know that by now. So we'll just let our eyes be soft or closed and start to slow our breath down and go inside, right? So taking that nice long inhale down into the pelvic region. And exhaling everything back out. So feel free to let sound out with your exhale to help release and let go. Oh, whatever you like to do. You like to say Om, that's good too. Just don't do that in class so much. Letting the belly relax, shoulders, the jaw, the tongue, brow. Oh. Going inside and noticing if there's any tense places in our body or in our mind or in our heart. Breathe into those places. Just send the breath there. Send the intention there. So that we might let our body totally relax and let go. We can bring our hands up to our heart as we continue to breathe. Gently tap around the heart, around the thymus. Oh. And then bringing our hands up to our head, massaging our scalp a little bit. Waking up that area. Continuing to breathe fully and naturally, evenly. And then hands to the ears and doing a little massage. Maybe pulling and rubbing on the ears a bit. And then putting our fingers inside the ears, gently pull down and hold for a breath. Just bring our vagus nerve on. So letting your body really let go. And then let's take our arms out from our shoulders and move the spine a bit here. So you can just let your spine move like a wave forward and back. And let your arms kind of flap like wings. Just allowing some movement in our spine. Whatever way feels good to you. Slowly back and forth as we breathe. And then we'll let our arms relax by our side. And we're going to come into 90-90 pose first. So bring your right leg in front. And if you want a bolster or a pillow for underneath your arms, you can just make sure you have that. And then having this 90-degree angle with our legs out from our hips. Let this hip relax for a moment. It's a deep internal rotation. Of course, you have external rotation on this leg. And we're going to start with a little bit of a twist here. So just lengthen the spine, bringing our right hand behind. Take our left hand over there and just spiral back. Take a few breaths here. And then we'll come back around to face forward over this right leg. Start to come forward onto the elbows. And we can just slide our left leg back however far it wants to go. And you can stay on your elbows or on a bolster, or you can just come all the way down over the leg, wherever your body feels ready. We might also adjust our shin and foot if we want. We can also always bring that foot in more. Instead of the 90 degrees, we can come more into a swan pose. Just whatever feels good to your body. Always want to listen to our body here. Find a little exploration of how that feels in the hip and then the outer part of the thigh, the lateral part of our thigh. The knee might be a factor as well. Climb all the way up on top of the leg if you like more compression on your knee. All the way into that swan. Walking the hands or the arms closer toward the foot will put more stress into the pose, or walking arms more toward the knee will bring a little less stress into the pose. Just finding what works, adjusting as we go. Again, is our opportunity to be with our body. So we use the pose to get into our body and not the other way around. Time to just notice what's going on. I say body, I like to think about the whole body, mind, organism, all the layers and levels, not just the physical. There's an emotional body, there's the mental body, there's the etheric, energetic body, spiritual body. You can call them different names. But our body does speak to us. And this is our opportunity to really listen. Sometimes we can ask our body questions. We want to know what's going on. Body can give you subtle answers, right? Might come in the form of intuition or a message in some form. If you like to, you can press your torso up and create a little bit of a back bend here. Optional. Into a upright position and kind of change that stretch a little bit. A little bit more stretch through the hip flexor area. And anytime you want to come back down over that leg and relax for a little longer, feel free to do whatever feels right for your body. Okay, so we're going to slowly start to press ourselves up. Take your time and slide your left leg up as you come up, sitting. And we can just bring our legs in front of us and give them a little shake or whatever feels good to you, windshield wiper, anything good to your legs. Hopefully that right leg is not asleep. And we're going to bring our right leg out to the side and our left foot in toward the thigh. So if this is difficult for your knee, you can also bring your leg forward more. So there's a little bit less compression in the knee. You can bolster underneath your knee. Or bring your foot farther down, right? Anything that feels comfortable. And we're just going to start by coming forward. So say it's like a half dragonfly, but half butterfly. And just let your torso relax, trying to keep our sits bones down. They will. And if this doesn't work for your knee, you could always come into a full dragonfly or a straddle pose if you prefer. That works better. But here we get a little compression in our knee, and obviously a really good stretch through the groin and the inner thigh, inner leg area. So feel free to adjust the leg too as well, that right leg. Might find your body can relax even farther forward with time, but just listening to our body, finding our edge, first tattva of yin, finding that edge, and sometimes exploring it a little bit. Then we'll press ourselves up, won't stay there too long, and just turn over toward that right leg. And feel free to make any adjustments that you need to. And relax over that leg, allowing our torso to relax forward. That stretch through the lateral hip on the left side of our left side of our torso. Might want to stretch your left arm a little bit farther toward the foot if you want to increase that stretch more, or you can even take your left arm over your head if you like. Whatever feels good to you in this half butterfly. This can be a little bit of a strain for the low back, because it's an asymmetrical pose and we're twisting and folding at the same time. So just be mindful of your low back. Okay, so we can use our hands to slowly press ourselves up to sitting. Always want to make sure to come out slowly so that connective tissue takes a while to come back, right? And then maybe shake the legs out, wiggle them around, windshield wiper, any of those, anything that feels good to your legs and your knees. We'll come on to our other side in the 90-90. So bringing the left leg front and the right leg out from the hip. Just letting that hip relax so we can, internal rotation of the hip is a little bit intense there. Just relax it. And then we'll take a twist to this side. So lengthening and bringing our hands behind us. Spiral back for a few breaths. And then coming back around to face over that left leg, bringing our elbows down to the ground or bolster underneath your arms if you want. Sliding that right leg back as far as it wants to go. And allowing your body to slowly come forward over the leg. Adjust the foot if you want to bring it closer in and come more into a swan. Exploring on this side. These long held deep hip stretches that are so beneficial for the whole hip area and our sacrum. That really deep stretch through the IT band, lateral hip and thigh. Long held stretches passively lengthening our muscles by stressing the fascia that surrounds the muscle. Even though we are stretching the muscles, we are more importantly, you could say, stressing the fascia and those deeper layers of connective tissue. Fascia, which sort of is like a sheath that envelops our whole body on the inside, interweaving through all the organs and around all the muscles, all the vessels. Everything is surrounded with fascia. You could say everything is fascia in the end. Even the tendons, the ligaments, the joints, the bones, everything is, they're finding, research is finding, is made out of fascia. So nourish all those deeper layers. In poses, sort of pull our bones apart. Think of that kind of deep, deep stretch as a way to pull the bones and lengthen. Lengthen everything from ligaments to bones to tendons to muscles. Especially as we get older, as we age, the fascia tends to get a little bit more tight, tense, constricted. You have to keep it nourished and stretched out. And if you like, you can use your hands to press your torso up and come into a little bit of a back bend. Or just stay laying down on top of your leg, if you prefer. This shifts our focus into the pelvis and the lumbar a little bit. Stretch in the foot flexors. Anytime you want to come back down on top of the leg for a little longer. Okay, let's go ahead and start to press ourselves up slowly and start to slide our right leg in as we come up sitting. Oh, and whatever feels good to your legs, hips. Here. Take a moment to give them a shake, bouncing around, and make sure the blood is flowing. And then we'll extend our left leg out, bring the right foot in toward your left thigh. Like, hello, I do, under your knee. And also your foot might be farther out or farther toward the leg. You can just feel free to put it wherever it needs to be. And this side, and just come forward, just relaxing forward over the leg. So trying to keep our sits bones down here. And this left leg is wide of a straddle as feels right for your body. We're going to be obviously really getting a stretch in inner thigh and groin area. Everybody's body is different. We just want to make sure that we remember that our body is not like anybody else's. So finding the right position in a pose, the right amount, is really an inside endeavor. Then we'll press ourselves up from there and just turn toward your left leg, making any adjustments that you might want to make. That right leg. And being mindful of the low back when we're in a combination of a twist and a forward fold. That can be a little bit taxing on the low back if we're not careful. You can always just do a full straddle as well, a dragonfly, both legs out if this doesn't work for your body. Those really, besides stretching our hip, of course, it's getting into the gallbladder, meridian, spleen, particularly the spleen and gallbladder. You can also bring your arm over your head if you want to increase that stretch even more. You can add that part however long it feels right for you. And as always, feel free to come out of the pose or in and out of a pose, do a different pose altogether if you need to. Listening to our body in that regard. Okay, so we can slowly start to come out from there. Find up and then legs out in front to do whatever feels good to you, whether that's the windshield wiper, and take them out. And we can bring our feet in towards our hips, hands behind us, and lift the hips up and down a few times. And then let's go ahead and stretch our legs out in front. So take a moment for caterpillar pose. You can lift your sits bones. So we make sure our pelvis is upright and just relax over the legs. Just let your torso relax. If you can reach your feet, you might want to even increase that stretch under the shoulder. Reaching for the bottom of the feet, maybe pulling the feet back toward the body. Okay, go ahead and come up from there, just using our hands to walk up the legs. And for this next pose, you might want to have some padding under your knees. We haven't actually done this before. And if you're not able to come onto your knees, the option would be a happy baby pose. But if you happen to have like a blanket on your knees or something, this is going to be frog. And we often do half frog, but we never have done the full frog. So bring our legs apart onto our elbows here. You can have your torso farther forward. You can have it farther back toward the heels. You can have your legs and your feet in line with your knees. You can have your feet closer together, bringing it more almost like a wide-legged child's pose. Explore that deep hip opening. And obviously, if this doesn't work for your knees, you can come into a happy baby pose on your back. Have the same sort of effect, only not quite as intense. Won't be here for very long. And you could just do a child's pose as well if this is too much for your hips, for the inner hip and groin area. Just find a nice child's pose that works for you. tadpole, maybe with your knees open and your feet apart, back. All variations. Obviously, this is a pose that would really be helpful for people that might need help with hip opening, right? You might need to like to open the hips more, the tight hips. This will really, even doing it for a short time, right, to help open them. Then we're going to very carefully push ourselves up, push the hips up till you can bring your knees closer together. And we'll come into Sphinx. So if you have a blanket out of the way, and just come onto the belly with our elbows, shoulders. Let the pelvis relax. Notice how, if you were in that frog pose, notice how your hips feel. Lift your feet if you want, or you can grab hold of one leg if you'd like to increase the stretch through the front of the leg, or use a strap, any of those variations. And then just taking a short break in a half frog on either side that feels good to you, that wants to do it. Letting your body take a rest. And then we'll slide that leg down and come back to Sphinx or Seal. You want to straighten your arms and come into Seal. You can also lift the pelvis up off the ground and do a more of an up dog version. Put a pillow underneath the pelvis for support. Or any of the variations that feels right for you. So folded blanket under the arms in Sphinx, another option for creating a little bit more back bend. Pay attention to our breath, sure that we're not straining. Sometimes it can be tricky to find that fine line between resistance and some discomfort and too much discomfort. You don't want to be in any kind of pain when we're doing yin. I want to create that resistance that makes the pose effective. My body happens to really like the front of the body stretch, or the hip flexor. You need the hip flexor stretch. So for me, the lifted up seal is particularly feels really good to my body. For other people, that might be a little bit too intense. A lot for the arms and shoulders. So if you are up in seal, you might want to start to make your way down towards Sphinx. And we can just take a short break and half frog on the other side. Okay, so go ahead and slide your leg back down, and we can make our way up onto our hands and knees for a different position if this doesn't work for you, and slowly start to move the spine by curling the front under, rounding the back, and maybe pressing the hips back, and coming up and arching, just slowly and gently between that rounding, arching spine. Our spine back into balance and normalcy. Then in neutral, we can do a few circles of our hips, letting our body go. And the other direction, just both ways, circling around, spiraling the body, letting everything go. A, a short child's pose here. Hips back to the heels. The legs may want to be together or they might want to be apart, just whatever feels right for you. Stretching the arms out in front. Okay, and then you can come up from there around onto our back. You might have bolster or pillows handy. Just starting by hugging the knees in toward our chest and relaxing our body, walking around a little bit. Might like to stir your knees with your hands. Just let your legs relax. Hips, socket to the both hip sockets, and maybe stir the other way. You're doing that. And then we'll go ahead and put our left foot on the ground and extend your right leg to the ceiling. You can grab behind your thigh or wherever. You can move your foot if you want. Make a little foot movement, ankle movement. You have bolsters that you want to put to the left side, you can do that. And just let your left knee drop open to the left. And then we'll guide our right leg across. If you can keep it straight for a while, great, but feel free to bend it if you want to. And extending our right arm out from our shoulder, supporting this right leg with bolsters or your hand or whatever you have. And if you are keeping your legs straight, feel free to let your leg bend and relax anytime you want to just let go into the twist. So kind of a personal preference. If you want to get that deep stretch through the hip or just let your leg relax. I find that being in a twist is a perfect opportunity to experience letting the breath breathe you, right? So letting the breath breathe us, letting go in a twist. You can't really tell which is doing which, right? Are we breathing the breath or is the breath breathing us? Okay, so we can just use our right hand to grab hold of our right leg and slowly lift it up and come back centered onto our back. Bring both knees in. And if you have bolsters that you want to bring over to the other side, you can. And then we'll put our right foot on the ground and extend our left leg to the ceiling. And you can move your foot however it wants to move. Your ankle, giving our blood a chance to come back up toward our heart. Let your right leg just kind of open out to the right knee. And then we'll guide that leg across the body. And again, if you can, and you'd like to keep it straight for a while, extend our left arm out from our left shoulder. Maybe, if it's comfortable, to have your arm a little bit bent and lifted. Comfortable for your shoulder. Of course, anytime you want to bend your left leg and relax it, feel free to do that. You got it straight. I'm pressing my leg into a hard surface, which is very helpful and supportive. Just letting our breath breathe us as we relax in the twist.
Thanks, Deb. I have to go. Thank you.
Okay. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere else to be. Except in this present moment. You can feel free to stay in your twist a little longer or come out anytime, slowly and gradually onto your back. Feel free to do any movement that feels good to you and feels good to your body right now, or just come into a comfortable resting position, taking some breath to integrate. So as we feel our body, noticing how we feel in our breath, noticing how our breath is, noticing how our mind is, our heart, giving thanks to our body being there for us, gratitude to our breath, gratitude to Gaia, to the Mother, and giving gratitude to anything else that comes to mind. All worthy of gratitude. I thank you all for coming. Feel free to continue to lie down and relax or to get up slowly